I call the Committee on Personnel to order. On the committee is Councilor Demers and Councilor Toro and
Yeah.
myself.
Madam Chair, I make a motion.
Myself, Chairman Campbell. Go for it.
I make a motion that we dispense with the reading of the previous meeting's minutes and approve.
Wait a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Make a motion to suspend the rules in order to allow Mayor Concanon to speak.
Do I have a second?
Second, sorry.
Yep, all in favor?
There's
Yeah,
only
I
three
have
of us.
Yeah, you're right, sorry.
Okay.
Welcome.
Sorry, it's just-
You're really
Yeah.
important here, Robert.
There's only three of us, so
Thank you very much.
you're
And he
welcome.
wants more.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, and members of the council. Several appointments in front of you tonight. The first is my nomination for appointment of John Cashell to be the next planning director and Woburn Redevelopment Authority Administrator for the city of Woburn. I'm sure many of you are familiar with John. I think you've been provided his cover letter and resume. I think it speaks for itself, very impressive. I'm thrilled to be able to offer his name to you, and I'm respectfully requesting confirmation. He's here tonight, obviously, for any questions or comments from the committee and the council. The goal would be that you get all the information you need tonight to make a decision to send this out to pass to the full council for, again, respectfully and hopefully a confirmation on the 20th. As you know, our current planning director, Tina Cassidy, who's served the city admirably for the last 10 years, she's chosen to retire, well-earned retirement. We wish her the very best, but it is her goal to leave by March 15th. So if there was the possibility that the council and the committee could act expeditiously, we'd like to see at least a week of overlap for John and Tina. We're in a great position with John. He knows the city very well. He had the job before. There's not a steep learning curve, but there is a simple matter of a transition, and I think a week with Tina, bringing him up to speed, would be really helpful for everybody. So that's my respectful request. I don't know if you have any questions of me, but John is here if you'd like to hear from him.
Yeah, we would love to hear from him.
John?
John, come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Welcome, welcome.
I brought copies of my resume in case you guys didn't have copies.
Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Obviously, we received this. Many of us know you. You've had this position before for what, 15 years? Many years, right?
Closer to 17.
Okay,
all told.
okay. So tell us about yourself and why you decided to come back.
Well, I'll try to be brief.
Okay,
I can be known as being long-winded, but in 1985, I was appointed first to this position. It was actually the planning board coordinator at the time. And I was appointed by Jack Rabbit and confirmed by the city council. And it was, the most important formative years of my career, those 15, 16, 17 years that I was here as the planning director. I think it led to the success I've had over the last 20 some odd years since I left Woburn in 2001. I became the town planner in Hudson, New Hampshire, which is a 30 square mile community, about 30 miles north of here, just over the border, 26,000 people. Very vibrant community, a lot of economic development activity, a lot of residential development activity. It was pretty amazing to work there and see that new environment of planning. I always tell people about Hudson, New Hampshire. It was almost like working for the Defense Department. Everything was so organized, and it was kind of a steep learning curve at that point in time, going to a new state where they have new bylaws, new statutes. You would think that land development law is the same wherever you go. It is really not. A lot of it is indigenous to the community and very much different when you go from state to state. and I could write a book about the differences. But I learned a lot there, and I did have the opportunity to get back into Massachusetts when the Georgetown town planner position opened up 7 years ago. And I was ready for a change. 16, 17 years in Woburn, 17 years as the town planner in Hudson. I have to tell you, a lot of these communities and these positions, people last 2 or 3 years. You're either cut out for this type of profession or you're not. And I pride myself on longevity of positions. I like taking a long-term approach to communities and really trying to help those communities become better. And I'll just say a couple of more sentences here. When I first went to Hudson, there were 30 somewhat court battles going on, appeals to planning board denials of decisions, ZBA denials of decisions that they had to come up with. And within a year, all of those court battles went away. And the problem in Hudson when I first got there, they just really weren't organized to be able to manage the amount of development that was going on. There was a tremendous amount of development up there, and it seems to always be a lot. It's a large-scale community land-wise. Anyway, within a year, we actually approved our first plan in one night in the planning board. And then from there, everything got smoothed out. And, it's a matter of gaining, when you're in these positions, gaining the confidence of the people you're working for, planning boards, city councils, town councils, selectmen. Once you show them that you have confidence and that you can do the job, your duties and responsibilities, then things start to smooth out. And you really have to be totally committed, devoted to the position and the community, because you're part of a team that we're all trying to make the community better on a constant basis. When Mike offered me this position, I can't tell you how joyful I was, but very grateful. But for me to be able to come back, do the full roundabout, and come back and perhaps finish off my career where I started, and just really help the community from here on out, continue to be a better community. There's a lot of work to do, and I'm up for it. I just went skiing for a week out in Heavenly Valley, and skied all 6 days that I was there.
Wow, good for you.
My nephew would stay in the condo, my son would stay in the condo, and I'd say, I'm out here to ski, so. I know you guys like the casinos, but,
Yeah.
So I'm ready, I get the energy for it. A lot of experience I've built up since first leaving, and I feel comfortable coming back. I have read everything in the website, the town's website, to bring myself up to speed with what's going on. And I have been watching city council meetings and planning board meetings, and just getting getting comfortable with seeing what's going on.
Yeah, Woburn has really changed
A lot.
since you left. And the building, I believe, is probably going to keep going. Hopefully, it will subside a little bit, but we have so many different projects going on right now.
Reading through the town's website and all the information, it really does impress me that everything's positive. I feel pride when I tell people I've lived in Woburn all my life, and what's going on here, it's just tremendous. I mean, I still live here, I have all my life, and just to see the change, all the changes that have taken place in the last 20 years, 22 years since I was last employed with the town, and it's just it's on the map.
Yeah,
and
no question.
It's going places.
Let me open it up. Any questions from the committee? Any questions?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to allow other members of the council to speak at this time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Anybody else? Yes.
Hi, John.
Hi.
Your resume is unbelievable. All the years' experience, I don't think Mayor Concanon could have asked for a better candidate. My question to you is, knowing the demographics of Woburn and seeing where we're at this stage, this particular point in time, where do you see the city in the direction, saying 5, 10 years down the road, knowing the economics of it, the residential aspect of it, the apartments, hotels, industry, commercial? Where do you see it? It's a pretty complex situation, and I'm not sure if Georgetown and, you know, Hudson, New Hampshire are where we're at, but we've had 400 years practice at it. So where do you see it?
For Woburn, you know, as with anything, it all depends initially on what is happening in the national economy. You know, Massachusetts seems to always be at the forefront, you know, of technology, of education, of healthcare. You know, a lot of people that are aware of Massachusetts, you know, would really like to be here, but it's an affordable factor for a lot of people, you know, from other parts of the country. It is an expensive place to live. Where are we going to be? I'd say very much likely the demand for growth is going to continue as the economy continues to expand for growth. You know, if we go through a recessionary period, you know, that'll slow things down. But I think Massachusetts is one of those states that's really a success of its making. It's, you know, it's constantly bringing in new, intelligent people, you know, again, forefront of all the technologies. And, you know, people come here and they realize there's such an incredible quality of life, quality of healthcare, you know, quality of intellect and everything else that goes with it. And it's not that cold. You know, it doesn't snow as much as it used to when we were all kids, I guess. But, you know, you know, you do have to worry if, you know, he's all of a sudden see palm trees growing, you know, but I don't think climate's gone that far yet. And there's so much debate with that. But I just think, you know, Woburn's going to continue to grow. We're in that 128 belt. You know, when I look at Boston and what's happened over the last, especially the last 20 years, you know, 3 or 4 years ago, there was a crane in every block of Boston. That has slowed down. I think they've developed Boston to a, you know, a real modern city. And as you can see, Somerville, you know, Bedford, everything's being infilled. You know, maybe not 5, 10, 15 years, but 20 years from now, 30 years from now, that whole 128 belt into the seashore, you know, the Boston waterfront. It's just going to be one big metropolis, you know, and that's because the population, you know, never stops really growing, and, you know, it seems like we're on a, you know, a growth pattern right now.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yes, Councilor Dillon.
I will say, full disclosure, I've known John for many, many years, as well as his resume being beyond reproach, his personal character as well. He loves Woburn as much as anyone else in this room. We've made a great choice as a candidate for him to take this position, and I just ask that we all support it 100%. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Papalato.
Yeah. First off, you've got an impeccable resume. You're perfect for this job. You're going to do a great job, I have no doubt. And you asked, why did you want to come back? And you gave a great answer. But why would you ever leave Woburn?
Why would I?
I mean, I know you didn't
Yeah.
physically leave because
Yeah.
you're tied to the community,
Yeah.
I know, but what would...
Why did I? You know, not that anybody's really familiar with the history, but Joanne's husband, a long time ago, he was in politics, and I remember him saying in a speech one day, I'm a recovering politician. 20-something years ago, you know, everybody realizes I ran for mayor. Not once, not twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. First time didn't really count, but anyway. That was when Jack Rabbit jumped back in the race. Anyway, it caught us off, all of us off guard, including your husband.
Yeah.
So, I I've gotten that out of me and out of the way. And, you know, I can swear right hand to God, I'm done personally and have been with politics for a long time. And it all came to me in Hudson, New Hampshire, where my boss at the time was a guy by the name of Sean McDonough. He's now the executive director of Tampa St. Pete Regional Planning Agency, which is one of the biggest in the country. And he was 8 years younger than me, but he was my boss. He was a planning director in Tewksbury. He was involved with politics, youngest school committee member in Lowell's history, and his father was a superintendent. And he always liked being involved in the fray of politics in Hudson when he lived in Tewksbury. And I warned him, I said, Sean, you're gonna get yourself in trouble. You know, politics is not what we're here for. We're here to do a job. We're here, he was the community development director, I was the town planner. Believe me, people don't realize how intricate things are up there and how structured. Massachusetts planners could learn a lot by going to New Hampshire. I really have to say this, that I gained a lot of experience and knowledge that I never would have gotten anywhere else other than, you know, working for the town of Hudson, but also being involved with the regional planning along with the state economic development activities. It's a very vibrant state. They love stealing businesses away from Massachusetts, by the way, and they do a really good job of poaching businesses. So you got to be careful, you know. And there's other.
I don't think we have to worry. We
No,
have
but
so
there's
many
other-
that want to
there's
come
other
to
stories-
Woburn.
There's other stories that go along with New
Yeah,
Hampshire and
yeah.
Massachusetts, like two different countries. But in any event, he just got involved in politics, and it got him in a lot of trouble. You know, and I said, Sean, I told you, you know. So I'm staying out of politics. I'm just here to do
That
my
wasn't
job.
actually a loaded question, I didn't
No,
know.
no. I just really want everybody to know, and I know the mayor knows this. I'm seriously.
Yeah, no,
Breathing easy, I see it.
yeah.
And I'm just here to do a job.
Of
And,
course.
And,
We
you know, I
know
just
that.
want everybody to know, when you get this old, you get superpowers, I've been told.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been keeping up with the news lately, but, you know,
You're not that old, so.
our fearless leader has superpowers because of his age.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
No,
No.
but if you ever need any advice, you know, Bernie Golden used to come up to my office all the time.
Right,
Years ago.
I remember
Of course,
Bernie.
he would commence to fall asleep, and, you know, I just do my work and wait till he woke up. God rest his soul, he was a great guy. You know, again, you know, long, old stories, but.
Yeah, let me get a few more questions
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
Okay, Councilor Viola.
I told you I was
Madam
long
Chair.
range.
First, John, I want to say thank you for being so forefront with everything, with your resume and everything. I think you have an impeccable track record. One of the questions I do have is where your secondary role would be the Woburn Redevelopment Authority Administrator. Do you have any ideas what you'd like to do to revitalize downtown?
A lot.
Yeah,
A lot.
Brief synopsis.
My master's thesis was on downtown Woburn revitalization. You know, and I have a bunch of history involved with this, but Jack Rabbit at one point in time, former mayor, wanted to disband the Woburn Redevelopment Authority. And few of us were able to convince him not to do something like that because it's a very difficult agency to recreate once it's disbanded. And over the decades, that has been a very important agency since its conception. You know, the Woburn Industrial Park was really founded, organized, and developed through that agency. The downtown area was a major focus in the 60s over the years. And in the 60s, we had a disaster on our hands with downtown. The Sears and Roebuck's, Gorin's, all these retailers, you know, Woolworths, Five and Dime, were all moving out. You know, Woburn used to have a Sears and Roebuck's downtown. They moved over to where Whole Foods is now, formerly Star Market. I think it was Star Market. But, you know, there's just so much transformation. And, you know, this last 20 years, look at all the improvement that's been done down there. You know, how many restaurants are down there now that weren't there. When I see downtown right now, I personally like to see much more improved facades. You know, we did have a sign program. There was a lot of cooperation with that, but I think the city would invest well in continuing to help the storefront owners improve their storefronts, and then, you know, really try to attract more vibrant businesses down there. I'd really like to see, and everybody that tries to manage a downtown really wants to see, you know, a healthy, clean environment with all of the storefronts filled, and, you know, possibly the parking situation taken care of. But, you know, continuing the path of improvement and constantly being on it is really important. And I was on the redevelopment authority board when I was here as planning director, and Don Borchell was actually hired for a number of years, and he was the executive director of the redevelopment authority. There was a lot of work accomplished, a lot of improvements accomplished. That was under the Dever administration, and you know, just continuing. Downtowns are tough, you know, and I think a city government can do a lot to help with the environment. You have to listen to what's going on down there. You have to talk to everybody that's there. You know, what can we do for you as our local government? You know, what can we do for you? You know, Woburn has a Chamber of Commerce that's perhaps second to none in Chamber of Commerce, for a Chamber of Commerce. Georgetown doesn't have a chamber. It's a small town, but no Chamber of Commerce. You know, that's kind of strange.
Yeah.
But you know, they do a lot of good for a community, and they can work wonders in partnerships with the community.
Okay, great.
Local government.
Yes, yeah,
John, just welcome
Councilor
home, welcome
Ferrullo.
back, and thrilled to work with you again.
Thank you, Chief. Well, former Chief.
Bobby works.
Do they call Chief, former Chiefs Chief still, or what?
Yeah.
There you go,
Oh.
Chief.
Once a chief,
Well,
always a chief.
I've always known you as Chief, so.
I was thinking back in 1985, what it looked like and the growth and the things that you did when I was a young kiddo walking a beat and stuff, and it was a lot of exciting stuff, and I'm thrilled to have you back here.
Can I tell you guys a quick story? Got two- got
Quick,
one
quick, because we have a lot on.
So one time, I was really on this, because I grew up on Union Street, and, you know, and I watched Sears and Roebuck's take off. And I didn't understand this stuff when I was little, but, you know, the parking lot was open for our little go-kart. But when I became I was the planning coordinator, and I was always working with Jack Rabbit every day. And I went in his office one day, I'm like, you know, Jack, you gotta do something with that downtown. The pavement looks like hell. You know, there's so much pavement down there, you can barely notice the curbing. You know, and curbing's granite curbing down there. But, you know, probably a foot or more of pavement, because all they ever did back then was resurface it. He goes, it costs money, John, it costs money. I said, you know what, you gotta start somewhere, you know, and the physical appearance that's the responsibility of the city needs to be addressed. And I'm talking, if you walk down the sidewalks at that point in time, you trip, you know, twist an ankle, you know, and it was terrible. And I thought he ignored me. You know, 6 months later, everybody's down there with the bulldozers tearing up the Main Street, and, you know, he reset the curbing and repaved Main Street, and it was all in time for the Halloween parade.
Oh,
Yeah. So
good for you. That was great.
He poo-pooed the
Needed
idea,
it,
but
yeah.
he went with it. And, you know, I said, Jack, I told you. And then things started taking off from there. But, you know, that's how bad, it was
When
bad.
you dig deep enough, there's cobblestone roadway under there. If you dig deep enough under the pavement, you come up with cobblestones, and the laborers would take the cobblestones, instead of dumping them away, they'd stack them up and pick them up at the end of the day.
And rails.
And you know what they found at Busy Bend in the middle of Main Street? An old fire cistern, you know, a giant one. I think they filled it in, you know. But, you know, there's artifacts up there dating back to
oh,
colonial days.
absolutely, no, absolutely, yeah, we have wonderful downtown. Thankfully, it's been the upkeep has been very good since those days. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that the appointment of John M. Cashel as Planning Director and Woburn Redevelopment Authority Administrator be sent out ought to pass.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Congratulations, John.
Congratulations and welcome.
You know, I was holding back the tears because I could cry right now. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
You're welcome back.
Looking forward to it.
Welcome back aboard.
So happy.
By the way, Bill says hi.
Great guy. Thank you, man.
OCPF, so I just cut right through it.
Okay, the next
We're covering both.
appointment up is Ann Chatfield for the Woburn Board of Appeals, and also Mayor Concanon would like to speak for a minute.
Thank you. I think this one's going to go a little quicker. Very pleased to present to you the nomination for appointment of Ann Chatfield to the Woburn Board of Appeals. I've got to know Ann over the last year or so. Several events through the Chamber of Commerce, other social events through the campaign process. She's relatively new to Woburn, but she's a quick learner. She's dove headfirst into all that is Woburn. She's got a passion, a commitment, a fresh perspective on the issues that appear before the board. She's got a real estate background, very intelligent, and a great way about her that I think will fit nicely on the board. As you know, she'd be taking the place of Ned Robertson, a longtime member who did a great job for us. I met with Ned a couple of times over the last month, talking about whether it was time for this kind of move, and very gracious, a real gentleman. I want to make sure we thank him for everything he did for the city over the years. He was the city solicitor at one point, he was on the board. Just a real gentleman who contributed greatly, and he was gracious in suggesting that perhaps it was time, and that's when I was able to turn to Ann and ask her to step up and try to fill Ned's shoes. So with that, unless you have questions of me, I would ask Ann to step up for any questions you might have.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Hi, Ann, welcome.
Hi. Nice to see everyone.
Nice to see you. Take a few moments to tell us about yourself.
So, as Mike mentioned, I am newer to Woburn. I moved here in 2017 with my husband. We purchased in Ward 7. And I'm originally from California, and when I was there, I did escrow officer for 15 plus years. That is a neutral third party, so you don't have any say and any loyalty to anybody. You just kind of coordinate every closing and work with the buyer's agents and the seller's agents and the buyers and sellers. When I moved here, I decided, well, I don't want to go to law school, so I decided to get my real estate license. So I got that in 2013, and have worked for different agencies and different roles within real estate.
Yeah, wonderful. Have you looked into the Board of Appeals? You know it's a 3-year term?
Yes, I have attended quite a few meetings. I've went back and looked through a lot of the minutes just to kind of see things that come in front of the Board of Appeals. And as I mentioned, in the last few months, I've attended a lot of the meetings in person just to see, A, how it works, B, what kind of things are coming in front of the Board of Appeals, and, seeing how the residents are presenting things and how the, board is voting.
Any questions for Ann? Yes.
More of a comment. I'm just glad to see you back in front of us,
Yes.
Ann. I know one of the more difficult things we have to do as city council members is make tough decisions on appointments from our own body. And I'm glad to see that you're back and involved again, because more often than not, we have multiple candidates who didn't get the position that we're like, man, they could really be helpful in the city some way, shape, or form. So I'm glad to see you back, and I will gladly vote in support of your appointment.
Thank you. Someone said, don't give up.
No, that's great.
Keep coming back.
That's great.
Anyone else? Questions for Ann? Oh, yes,
More of a
Councilor
comment.
Viola.
Two saves, 'cause we-
I've seen Ann at many of the Board of Appeals meetings that I've been to. She's always there taking notes, watching the Board of Appeals going on. Very interested in it, and I think she'll bring a fresh perspective to the Board of Appeals.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Anyone else? Yes, Councilor Dillon.
Okay to speak, or is there?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
open.
Good things happen to those who wait. So you got the perfect spot for you. You got a real estate background, the Board of Appeals, I attend many of their meetings. I do it because I enjoy it. It's educational. Chair Pinkham's incredible how she runs that. You will do so well there, they're lucky to have you, but you'll get such great experience from it too, I'm sure.
Yes,
So perfect candidate, glad to have you there.
thank you, appreciate it.
Okay,
I'll
do
make
I
a
have
motion that the appointment of Ann Chatfield to the Woburn Board of Appeals be sent out to pass.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you, appreciate it.
We are very happy to have you on board.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye, Ann.
Thank you, Mike. Next on is the appointment of William J. McGrath to the Woburn License Commission.
Thank you again.
Mhm.
So Bill is here tonight to fill the shoes of Councilor Papalato, who did a great job there.
Big shoes to fill. I think you can do it.
Thank you. So, I think I've known Bill forever. I've known him probably most of my life. Longtime Woburn educator, always involved in the community. He's an active member of the Host Lions Club with Rob and I. He's just a true gentleman. He, like Ann, has volunteered and stepped up to try to serve our community previously, and I'm thrilled that he stayed in the game. And we talked about this particular appointment. And in my mind, he's a perfect fit. I think what we're looking for is common sense, an open mind, willing to listen to all the issues, and try to keep your eye on the prize, which is making sure that the way we handle licenses in Woburn is professional and with the best interest of the community at heart, governing every decision. I can't think of a better candidate for this type of position, and I'm proud to offer you, Bill McGrath, for your confirmation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bill, welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here.
Thank you for allowing me to come before you. And thank you, Michael, for those great introductory words.
Why don't you just take a few moments to tell us about yourself, your experience, and why you'd like to be on the License Commission?
Well, lived in Woburn all of my life. Grew up in Woburn, bought a home in Woburn, raised my kids. My kids grew up in Woburn, went to public schools and went on. My son is now a lieutenant in the police department. He doesn't live in Woburn, but he's still connected to Woburn. I've been involved in a number of things over the years. This license commission is something new to me, and I'm looking forward to learning. I'm a listener, and I think I can contribute.
Okay. Any questions? Yes.
I have a question, just want to speak to Mr.
Yeah.
McGrath. I was one of his students at Woburn High School.
Oh, okay.
So I've known Bill for a long time, and I thank you for, again, coming before us and having a willingness to serve, and I will be supporting your appointment this evening.
Thank you, Mr. DeVries, I appreciate that.
Yes, Councilor Dillon.
Mr. McGrath's reputation far precedes him. It's the
Thank you.
best.
Thank you.
This is a great opportunity for you and the Licensing Commission, for both to work together. I know you do a great job, and I always remember my brother Jack speaking so highly about you.
I love Jack, great guy. Thank you.
Fully support this.
Councilor Toro.
Not a question, similar. I've known Bill now for about 7 years through the Host Lions Club, like Mayor Kunkin and said. Great listener, very open-minded. I think he'd be a big asset to the commission.
Thank you, Rob.
Okay.
Thank you, appreciate that.
All right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hi, Bill.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. What I appreciate is you're a lifelong Woburn resident. And you're familiar with every nook and cranny in Woburn, and that's important on the licensing commission. And because we need somebody that, bird dogs all of these licenses as well as.
Yeah, that does interest me, and, I've been trying to follow it over the years. I know that there's an annual meeting of the license holders, and I read that this past meeting, 4 license holders couldn't be at that meeting, and I would certainly be in favor of following up on that. Number one, find out why they couldn't be there. Number two, stressing how important it is for those people to go to those meetings. And thirdly, rescheduling at a time for them to be there so they can hear what, update and reminders of what the rules are. I've spoken to Captain Murphy, and he believes in doing that, and I would fully support that.
And that's one of, I think, the best qualities here, and is the fact that you not only know the restaurants and the business owners that come in front of us, or come in front of you soon, but you know the history of those establishments. And that, I think, there's nothing better than that.
Thank you.
So, welcome aboard.
Councilor Pappalardo.
Hi, Bill. I sat on that committee for, I think, 5 years or so,
Okay?
and I walked in the same situation. I didn't know a whole bunch about
Right.
how the workings of it run, but the 2 folks that are on that board are very, very, very knowledgeable about the details, and you'll
Yeah.
pick this stuff up quickly.
I'm a
You do a great
listener.
job.
I mean, I'm more than happy to sit and listen, to hear and question. That's part of my makeup, so
Yeah.
I'll be happy to
And
do that.
there's been some tough situations that have happened over the last year or so.
Mhm.
And you get a lot of help from a lot of people, from the city solicitor across the board, so you'll do great.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that the appointment of William J. McGrath to the Woburn License Commission is sent out to pass.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it.
Thank you very much. I
You're very
appreciate your
welcome,
support.
Thanks, Bill.
Congrats, Bill.
Congratulations. Good luck. Good luck.
Thank you. I would also say that, Rob is the president of the club now, and Michael's a past president of the Lions. I'm a past president. John Catchell is also a past president.
Oh, goodness, okay.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
So you were a past president?
No. Soon.
The next on the agenda is the reappointment of Jan H. Fuller to the Commission on Disability. I did not get to talk to Tim, but I am sure that the reappointment of Jan Fuller, we should move forward
I'll make a
with it.
motion that the reappointment of Jan H. Fuller to the Woburn Commission on Disability be sent out to pass.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Mayor. We have the reappointment of several members to the Woburn Council on Aging. Rosalie Travello, Mitzi Stein, Mary Jane Mastrodomenico, Angela Amato, and Joyce Baker. Once again, I'd like to send that forward. I mean,
I'll make
go
I'll make
ahead.
a motion that the reappointment of the following to the Woburn Council on Aging be sent out to pass. Rosalie Travello, Mitzi Stein, Mary Jane Mastrodomenico, Angela Amato, and Joyce Parker.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you.
very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Picking that up real quick.
Thank you, man.
Huh?
Picking that up.
Took you a little bit, but you got it.
All set whenever you are.
Follow my lead, I'm like the fullback.
Next up, we have the Committee on
I was
Finance.
like, how'd that happen?
Councilor Viola, I'm the chair. With me on the committee is Councilor Campbell, Councilor Ferrulo, and Councilor Mercer Bruin, who is absent. Take a motion for the first.
Motion to waive the reading of the previous minutes and approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Second item on the agenda is the order to transfer the sum of $69,709 from Traffic and Safety Infrastructure Fund account to Salem and Bow Pedestrian Safety account.
I'd like to suspend the rules to
Do I have
allow
a second
Mayor to speak.
suspend the rules? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mayor?
Thank you. So this is an item, we're talking about a transfer from the Traffic Safety and Infrastructure Fund account for a particular need that's been identified by the ward councilor, Councilor Mercer Bruin. The bordering ward councilor, Demers, agrees with the need. This matter has gone before the Traffic Commission with a positive recommendation that we take action and try to address the safety concerns in the area at the intersection of Salem and Bow, kind of where it meets Beach Street as well. It's a heavily traveled area. It's major pathway to the White School for many of the students. There can be some speed issues there. So we think it's appropriate to use this funding to try to address this problem and not wait. So we're talking about pedestrian flashing warning lights. This would allow for the consultants to come up with the plan as well as to pay for the lights themselves. And we'd like to get moving as quickly as we can. Again, there's a lot of support for this, and I think it's a need that we should try to address immediately.
Councilor Demers?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the mayor said, and Councilor Mercer Bruin sends her regrets as she's out of town right now, but she asked me to speak on behalf of this, and I gladly offered to. This is an important piece of legislation for our constituents, as the mayor said. It's a primary route to school, and as anybody would know on this council, as you come down Bow Street and try to turn on, you see all those cars bombing up the right-hand side on Bow and then making that bend by the cemetery. So it is a dangerous intersection, and I think this is a proactive approach to a problem, because the last thing we want to have happen is a child on their way to school being hurt trying to cross the street. So I think this is an important infrastructure enhancement to the area. I think it's a step towards a broader picture maybe even of looking at that, but I appreciate the mayor's willingness to move this forward and to fund it because of the immediacy of the concerns of the neighbors and the parents of the school children. Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments?
I too talked to Darlene, and I concur. I grew up not too far from there, and it just got increasingly worse over time with the added volume, so 100% support this. Very much needed.
Councilor Toro?
Mayor Kunkin, and I think there was some discussion on like the redesign or reconfigurement of that area as well, right?
Yes.
The consultants that are coming in as part of the overall cost, is the goal of the consultants, in addition to the design, trying to figure out the best placement of this flashing light with the understanding that, would want to minimize as much as possible potential rework of what we're paying for now?
Yeah, it's a good question. Eventually, I think we will see a transformation of that overall intersection. If you can visualize it, if you're coming from Beach Street past the cemetery and you start approaching Salem and Bow, at some point, you'll probably see a teeing off of that intersection. So to your point, the study that we're doing now and the implementation of those results will be to locate the best spot for these pedestrian warning lights, mindful of an eventual larger transformation so we don't have to do it again. But their main focus is to try to find the best spot for these lights for now. And again, to not have us have to redo something down the line. We don't want the perfect solution to be the enemy of the good solution now. So we do want to act quickly, but with the long game in mind as well.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea. I support it as well.
President Dillon?
Yes. Being the former chair of the Traffic Commission for 4 years, this was not only in front of us once, but twice. So I appreciate Councilor Mr. Bruin and Councilor Demir's effort to get this taken care of, and also Mayor Concanon to recognize that a big part of what we have to do is protect our citizens, whether they're pedestrians, walking, or driving. We all know the driving has gotten, throughout the country, aggressive as being polite. So whatever steps we can do to set the example that here in Woburn, we're doing the right thing, and we expect our citizens and our visitors that are using our streets to do the right thing. Can't think of anything more important, so I appreciate everyone's effort.
Councilor Demers?
Yeah, just to quickly, to Councilor Toro's point, and similar to what the mayor was saying, it is on Councilor Mercer Bruin and my radar, the redesign of that intersection, and it's also, just to give you a visual idea of what teeing off would look like, the new drop-off of where Pine Street meets Salem is a teed-off intersection, so that the visual sight lines are 90 degrees as opposed to having to look over your shoulder either way. So it would make that turn on a lot more safe and kind of direct traffic to actually slow down to make the turn onto Beach Street rather than just the gradual basically just shifts into it. So I think it would be a great benefit to that section of Salem as well.
Anybody else? Council Campbell?
I would like to thank you as well for bringing this forward. And I do have to thank you, Mayor, for being willing to take the steps to move this forward. Many times in the past, this hasn't been the case with different things that that we have needed on the council. And I'm just very appreciative that not only are you for this, you've moved it forward and you're here to talk about it. And I'm very thankful for that.
Councilor DeMambro.
I would just like to say, Mayor Kirkconnell, I greatly appreciate this, and I can understand it. I just hope that we can all keep in mind that there are a lot of areas in the city, there's many, that could use these strobe lights. There's a lot of busy streets, there's a lot of busy intersections, traffic, to my colleague's point, is aggressive at best, maybe worse. So I think we got to keep in mind, especially being, a member of the traffic committee going on my third year, we're seeing requests of this more and more often. And I understand it could cost in excess of, $40,000, $50,000 to install these. I'm not necessarily sure people are aware of the cost. But I think in some way, shape, or form or fashion, if we can get, maybe into the state level, or we can get some sort of grants or funding to fund more of these, I think it would not only benefit, this area in particular, but several areas in the city of Woburn, as well as particular Woburn Center. It's a very highly dense area, especially on a night like tonight where it's wet, there's a lot of glare. There's probably 3 or 4 areas throughout Woburn Center. And again, I understand they're expensive, but when it comes to, a child coming in between 2 vehicles, or even an old lady, and you didn't see them, but you will see those strobe lights blasting. I think it's imperative we try to focus on trying to encompass more of these throughout our city. I thank you.
Okay.
Is there a motion from the committee?
Motion sent. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you?
I'll make a motion in the order to transfer the sum of $69,709 from the Traffic Safety and Infrastructure Fund account to Salem and Bow Pedestrian Safety account, sent out ought to pass.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Done.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. I called we adjourn?
I will call the Committee on Ordinance, Charter, and Rules to order.
Do I have a vote to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All the...
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, good.
Second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
I have correspondence on the next one from Mr. Connor Powers. He's my agent that Councilor Toro's been communicating with. This is just his most recent email. I'm not sure any or all of you got it. But it may be a little bit illuminating. And the city clerk is also here to answer any questions that any councilor may have.
All right, I'll call the Committee on Ordinance, Charter, and Rules to order.
Could you pass that down?
Do I have a motion to dispense with the reading and approval of the previous meeting's minutes?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
I'm sure these guys are in the committee kind of night. All right, is there a motion to suspend the rules to allow the city clerk to speak?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Come on, people. I'm gonna have to get you all energy drinks. Madam Clerk, our first agenda item this evening is an order amending the Woburn Municipal Code 12-56 Special Event Permit Insurance Requirements. I know this was filed several weeks ago. If you could just give us an overview of what had hit your office and
Yeah,
the purpose behind it.
Recently after COVID, we've seen a lot more new petitions, and I'm sure you guys, obviously it goes before you guys, for special permits, special event permits. It was brought to our attention that it seemed like the insurance was not being consistent. I'm not sure how it was handled before, but I looked it over everything, and we were consistent with everything. When the changes were made back in 2018, I was actually on the council, and I remember how this came down. I believe Joanne might have been the only one there with me at the time. Yeah, so Joanne was on the council as well, Councilor Campbell. It was just brought to us because the previous municipal code said, upon recommendation of the city solicitor. I don't think the city solicitor wanted that authority. It was very vague. So we changed it to the current limits that are right now, because on the advice of Maya, our insurance company. We didn't have many questions. Honestly, I didn't hear any feedbacks as a council member. Didn't really hear any feedbacks as a city clerk until recently. So the problem is when we changed it, I think some of the older events just kept, everyone was accepting the older, updated insurance binder. And I have examples right here if I don't know if you want to accept them.
Is there a motion to accept and make it part of the permanent record?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I have one for and two. It kind of shows you what it should look like when the changes were made back in 2018. We ran into a lot of problems this year too. It was changed generally to, well, I'll just say to like a 1 million and 3 million per occurrence and then the aggregate. The second page will show you what the proposed changes made. So we ran into this issue over the summer, a lot of conversations with myself and City Solicitor Doucette, and also our Meyer representative. I think is it Connors on this now? Mm-hmm. He was not our representative at the time, but what he says in that email, I read it, is actually what the last Meyer representative recommended. It's really a policy decision at this point. I know costs have been up in general for private people, commercial in general. And so the cost has increased for them. Also, nobody really does the 1 million, 3 million is what I'm hearing. So what do you propose? I talked to City Solicitor Doucette about it. I asked Councilor Demers if he would sponsor this in September so that we could get a discussion going before you guys, and wanted to bring it to your attention so that no one wants to hinder some local events either. A lot of them have long-standing traditions. This special event permit, if you read the ordinance, it's not for parades. It's just for, it's pretty much everything but parades. The parades are handled by the police department. So we're currently not getting necessarily the requisite requirements in the minimum requirements in the zoning code. The municipal code. So my office has to be, we kind of have to have a clear game, so we cannot not waive those. We can't waive those. Currently, you guys can't either, but that can always change. What was suggested is the 1 and 2. Some people have issues with umbrella liability. That is what can be kind of expensive for some of these events. I don't think it's too expensive maybe for the road races, but if you guys want to change it where you guys can waive the requirements, we can update the form itself. Game for anything, just wanted a discussion here. I'm also here to answer any questions, because Ellen and I have been through the conversation about this numerous times. I've talked to a bunch of different insurance companies who've called asking why the change. I'm like, well, the change was in 2018, not this year. So, yeah, I'm here. Okay. So the first page is current requirements. The second page is proposed. It's kind of what we look for when we're reviewing it. They also have different. Someone might have more insurance in any of the other areas, but these are the minimum requirements based on statute.
Any questions for City Clerk Higgins? Council Freewell?
First of all, welcome back.
Thank you.
Two-part question here. The
Yep.
first is address the issue with the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second is, separate from this, to address the issues of ability to waive, which I think should be taken in two different steps. Do you agree?
The numbers, yes. So the numbers you should look at. Most people say that 1 and 3 is not really a viable option anymore. That was recommended to us by Maya. But it sounds like more 1 and 2 for the commercial general liability, right? 1 and 2 is more common. We did get pushback on the umbrella as well, though. And then with the waiver, I don't necessarily think a road race, but I'm not the policymaker. I don't necessarily think a road race needs this much insurance, but I'm not going to get involved in the policy of it all. If you decide that that's maybe something you guys do want to waive, you can make that decision. I suggest that you write it clear in this ordinance change, and we can figure out a process for that, whether it has to go to a committee meeting before you can approve, something like that. Like I said, we've just changed the numbers just to get your conversation going with you guys.
Sure. Councilor DeMember?
Is this the standard, Lindsay? Welcome back, bud. Is this the standard, the 1-2?
So, for special events,
Yeah, for across the board, is
so
this
it's
what other
different in
cities
every
and towns?
community. Other communities also, again, Ellen would say the same thing. Recently, she saw that sometimes just a standard 1 million.
Across the board?
Just 1 million insurance, nothing more. So if you see something with anything on there, pretty much $1 million, you're covered. Like I said, it was 1 million, 3 million was recommended to us by Meyer. That email that says 10 million the city has, that's only reason the city has 10 million and carries that much is because the MBTA made us have that much insurance for the new Boston Street Bridge. So I don't think 10 million is realistic. So
Councilor Toro and then Councilor Ferraro.
2 points. You know, being a business owner too and dealing with insurance just on a daily basis for myself, the 1 million, 2 million is kind of the standard policy.
Okay.
The 1-3 is more of that niche policy which people are having troubles with. And as the clerk said, you know, that umbrella policy does add some money to it as well. But it's more that 1-3 as opposed to 1-2. You know, I think talking to some of the local stakeholders and some of the organizations that run some of these events, you know, as we've been having discussions on this specific issue, you know, it does, the current requirements does hinder, when we put them into effect, it does hinder their ability to get insurance at a reasonable rate and could potentially impact their ability to have these events just in their entirety or, you know, would require them to charge to have the events. And we have a lot of great organizations and events within the city, and the last thing I think anyone on the council wants to do is impact the, you know, these events, you know, so I definitely support the proposed changes of the 1 million, 2 million with the $1 million umbrella, and I think Chair Demers is going to go into a little bit more detail on potential language for the waiving of the umbrella.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Toro. So the final sentence of the ordinance is that the city council shall not waive the minimum insurance coverages as outlined above. And it would be my recommendation that we look at possible compromise language that would allow the city council may waive the umbrella liability insurance coverage as outlined above, provided that the waiver request receives a favorable report by the Committee on Ordinance, Charter, and Rules. I think that gives us the flexibility that's needed so that if there is a road race or some sort of event, even a newer event to the community, that's small impact, that we could accommodate that without really creating a burden of cost. But I'm sure that my colleagues would agree with me that events that may have fireworks, alcohol on city property and so forth, I think we want to retain the ability to require the umbrella liability insurance to make sure, because we have a fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers of Woburn, that we
Right.
make sure that the city is covered, but we do want to encourage these events and folks to go out and have a good time.
may I just make a comment? I
Madam
don't know if
Clerk.
ordinance, how the committees are set up, if ordinance is the right committee
So
for
would it
it.
be special permits?
I don't think it's
or
special
liaison?
permits. It could be licensed, I don't know, do you know, whatever you
Public-
decide, I just don't think ordinance is the right
I'll
one
leave that
for
up to
it.
the committee if they want to change
Well, you
language,
could
or
do liaison.
if Councilor Ferrullo wants to chime in about public safety and license.
I'll take whatever you want to send it. My question goes more back to the logistics of who has to get it and when, and we can't go subjective to either. But I've always, since I was a sergeant, we've always talked about mandating specific routes in order to get a more favorable picture. Running across Lexington Street to get to the pond, running out of, well, event in East Woburn where you take a right and go across Central, Montvale, Washington, and Central, going, you know, into these high-risk areas creates a greater hazard than meeting down the pond and run. Now, once again, I've never run, so let's not get anything there. But it's to go around the pond and to get some sort of thing that works to make it safer. And it's not for discussion for tonight, but it's something that we always want. A second quick question. This is to protect us if somebody's underinsured and they come back to us, or is this in cases of, like, doesn't the Mass Tort Claims Act protect us to a certain degree with we're only eligible?
Yeah, we're limited, but it's requested that they add as an additional insured, that's already a requirement. If you notice, I actually, everyone does it a little differently, it depends on the insurance person you get, but ideally they would have all these X's filled out, and then on the bottom, they would say something about we're additionally insured.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor DeMero?
I just got one question. Would it offset set it a little bit or make the cost a little bit more reasonable if we made it across the board $1 million for each and keep the umbrella? So 1 million all the way down the sheet, but keep the umbrella.
Standard policy is 1 million, 2 million aggregate, and then I don't think it's gonna make much of a difference. You got 1 million per occurrence, 2 million aggregate, and then the umbrella is whatever we wanna call it, right? It could be 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, it doesn't matter.
And then to previous comments at meetings, we don't want to make this too much of a custom insurance plan that the cost would negate.
Absolutely.
1, 2 is
Okay.
pretty
These are minimums,
standard.
so people may have much higher, they can have higher, some of them actually do have higher.
Sure.
But it's just because you have higher in one area does not mean you meet the minimum requirements in the other
So it's
area.
just, okay.
Well, to Councilor Ferrulo's point, if the committee deems that there needs to be further discussion upon the waiver piece with the umbrella liability, I guess my recommendation would be that we move forward with the order as proposed amended. We leave the waiver language as is, and then we circle back if we want to be more specific. Maybe I can get some suggestions from the city solicitor as to should we put specific events that may apply for the liability waiver as opposed to
To make it
making it
clear.
up as we go.
We just need a, we're starting to have, usually we had something in March, I don't know if we have something in March currently now. I need to update the form
Yeah.
in general, and
So
I would appreciate if something was done before the next cycle of events.
Spring events, right, okay.
And they need enough time if you are gonna, it needs to be clear for my office,
Sure.
that's all I wanna ask.
Can't we set it up with that language, and if we feel like it's not working, come back and revisit it that way?
We could do that.
You know, it's the same, we're talking the same thing,
Yeah.
it's just if we
Yeah, I
put
think it would
something
be
in,
easier to white out something on an application than it would
That
be to
way-
reinvent it.
that way it gives the clerk's office definitive guidance on how to handle things for now, and if we want to alter
The
it.
last time we discussed this, there was a talk about what's the cost difference.
Right, I was gonna
Is
ask that. Does anybody
I know that was
know?
a takeaway from our...
It depends on
Yeah,
the
it depends,
insurance.
I think it depends on the size of the event, the scope of the event, the type of insurance, but I think anytime you go into the insurance market with something that is more of a custom plan as a standard that, or like cookie cutter plan that they already offer, you start getting more expensive.
All right, but what kind of dollars are we talking about here?
It really depends on the event. So if you have fireworks, you're gonna be paying more money for your insurance, because inherently there's more,
Liability.
Yeah.
yes, liability with something that explodes.
What about a regular road race, like takes place all the time?
So I can look at some of the previous ones, so like, I'm not gonna say who they are, because they are public record, but I just,
Like a 5K.
like a 5K depends, so some of the bigger groups already have bigger policies, so.
I mean, if there's a
But 1,
road,
2, it seems like 1, 2, like, Councilor Torres said, is very common, and then you can see 2 million umbrella. Again, liquor, there's liquor liability too, if you have that, and then automobile liability is if your cars are actually on city property, like some of the,
like a food truck or something
something like that, yeah, mhm.
How many, I mean, do we know offhand how many races, maybe the chief could chime in, the road races that are limited to the Horn Pond grounds, they don't cross the street?
Not a
So-
lot.
Not a lot?
That was always something we tried to do, but we could never get decent distance with decent running
Mm.
No, they
surface.
generally go down somewhere on President Street, Lexington Street.
Yes.
They kind of loop around, and then depending on where they're going back to, like, certain ones are on, have, gatherings afterwards on Main Street, or
Mhm.
gatherings afterwards off of Main Street in a
Sure.
private property.
I remember the O'Brien Road Race, it was on Gallagher Way.
Boys Club has
Yeah.
road races, walks, the IA, they're all,
The
And
three
yeah,
big- the
YMCA,
IA,
and that's the one's going on Pleasant, Lexington.
the IA one, the boys club, and the one over at the YMCA, that it was pretty funky
Mhm.
through the busy
They have a
roads.
funky, it's like, yeah,
Yeah. And they actually ran out of that dirt road onto Lexington
yeah, they
Street.
do.
Any other questions?
I think we still have the unresolved on what committee.
Well, I was
or-
gonna ask what the will of the committee is.
I think public safety and license should hold it instead of ordinance, charters, and rules, but that's just my own opinion.
I think under the ordinance, it's under section 12-56-12, I think is public safety. I think, I don't have it in front of me, the municipal code, but I think it has to do with public streets and fairs.
I did print it myself.
Look it up.
Should we pass as is and with the special amendment clause?
That would be the motion, if it's the will of the committee.
I'd like to make that motion.
Do you have the language?
Yeah, I mean, you could just say as amended, because we had talked about the language, if you want to make the motion.
I'm not on the committee, but I think that what you
If
are,
there's any other
yeah, I
councilors that
think
would...
what you are talking about makes sense, since you have been dealing with this as well, and
Sure.
I think,
And I think if we were to amend the language and there's a requirement to be more specific that's advised by the city solicitor, we still have the same motive, that we would be granting a waiver, but we can always come back and amend the ordinance with the more specific language to more meet what we should be doing in public safety and license. That would be my opinion. So what is the will, Councilor DeMario?
I'd like to make a motion to pass it as is with a special amendment clause.
What's the special
Yes,
amendment?
That's the new waiver
The new
language.
Allowing
You just
us
want to
to
say that
waive.
for the record for Clerk Vincent?
Yep, the city council may waive the umbrella liability insurance coverage as outlined above, provided that the waiver request receive favorable report by the Committee on Public Safety and License.
So I have a motion with that amended language. Is there a
Second.
second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Gordon, do you want me to read that to you? Or do you want
I
it?
can
have a
get-
copy
yeah,
of
let
it,
me-
if that's.
Thank
can
you.
make it-
Thank you,
I'm gonna
Lindsay.
make a copy of that, so you have it?
No, that's fine.
All right, thank you.
You can read my chicken scratch there.
If I have
Thank
any
you,
issues,
Madam
I'll
Clerk.
give you a,
I could email it to you as well if you want.
Thank you very much, that would be helpful too.
I'll take that back. So I have it.
Make a motion.
Next item.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Next item on the agenda is the order that the Committee on Personnel take the necessary steps to fill the vacancy in the position of Deputy Superintendent of Public Works. Clerk Vincent is passing out a redlined version with proposed edits to the ordinance that came down from Shauna Haley, the city's HR director, and through advice of DPW Superintendent Duran. So as you can see, there were some features of the ordinance that were amended to include responsibilities that are already maintained and operated by the Deputy Superintendent of Public Works. Some of it's just language updates to call us a city rather than a town. Rather than the director of DPW, it changes to Superintendent of Public Works. But it also has to do with snow management, dealing with contractors, state and federal grants, and then providing information to help the Superintendent of Public Works formulate their budget. So pretty pro forma. This is basically outlining exactly what the job description is that has been operated since Mr. Burnham was the DPW deputy. So are there any questions from the committee? I did speak with DPW Superintendent Duran today, and he did relay to me that he was fine with these changes as proposed.
Need a motion?
Yes, Councilor Viola.
I know I'm not on the committee, but
That's all right.
did it always have the requirement of having a civil engineering degree? Or is that new? It's not redlined, but
That was always in
that
there.
was always there. Sorry.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Bear with me because there is some,
Is a printout?
is there a printout?
There is, it's
Motion?
in the, I believe it's in the folder, there are two.
Oh, I'm
There are
sorry.
two motions that the city clerk has prepared, or two suggested motions that the city clerk has prepared.
There we go.
Yeah, there you are.
Is there a motion that the Committee on Ordinance sends out a recommendation that the City Council shall direct the Human Resources Director to advertise the vacant position for Deputy Superintendent of Public Works based upon the attached updated job description?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, and then is there a motion made that Chair Demers submit an order to the City Council requesting the changes to the Woburn Municipal Code, Section 2-194, subsection H, as outlined and approved by the Ordinance Committee?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Call the Committee on Public Safety,
Yes, thank you.
Committee on Public Safety and Licenses to order. Councilor Ferrolo is the chairman. With me on the committee is Councilor Papalato, Councilor Campbell, Councilor Demers, and Councilor Toro.
Make a motion to waive the reading and approve the meeting minutes?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. The only matter before us tonight is a petition for the renewal of a second-class motor vehicle sales license by Central Automotive at 275 Salem Street.
Make a motion, the petition is sent out.
That's actually, it's Cambridge Road Auto Service, I believe.
I'm sorry,
Is that?
I read the minutes, I apologize.
Okay.
Do over. I'm gonna go over a minute tonight.
You got an agenda?
Sorry, it's my fault.
Application for a new renewal of license to sell, exchange, and assemble motor vehicles and parts thereof. Give me 1 second, guys, I'm sorry. Which again, is a second-class motor vehicle license by Cambridge Road Auto Service, DBA Woburn Plaza Shell at 293 Cambridge Road.
Make a motion that the petition for renewal is sent out to pass.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
I think you were still on our name.